Sophia, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I've been so looking forward to us having this conversation. Oh my God.
Me too. So I'm not sure if you know how my podcasts work, but I start off with 10 rapid fire questions just to get the listeners to have a feel for you. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, number one, your favorite word.
Oh, juicy, of course.
Your favorite food.
I think mango, fresh
Mm,
mango.
yum. Your favorite sex position.
On top, baby.
Same. Okay, number four, a book that you think every human should read.
Untamed by Glennon Doyle. Yeah.
Mhm. You recommended that to me. It's incredible. Okay. Is there a quote that you either live by or that you just love?
um, the quote that I love is know your worth and then add tax.
Oh, I love that. Which is so true in business as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, describe your body in three words.
Strong, sensitive, and healthy.
Hmm. What is love?
Hmm. To me, love is everything. Love is the whole point of our human experience.
Feel that.
Hmm.
If you incarnated as an animal, I kind of think I know what you're going to say. What animal would it be and why?
I think you know, it would totally be a cat.
Yes. And why?
I feel that cats are just so feminine. They're like the queens, whether they're a boy or a girl cat, because they do their own thing. They don't have owners. They're just there to be served hand and foot. They get to nap all the time and eat salmon. So sounds like a good life to me.
That's so true. They're kind of like not snobby, that would be that the egotistic way of describing them, but they're just like walking around like, yeah, I'm me, and that's it. Love it. Okay, is there such a thing as a wrong choice or a wrong decision in your opinion?
I don't feel so, because I think that we make choices or decisions based off of what we know. So the information that we have at the time usually is what forms the decision or choice that we make. So I actually think that until we reach to a space of being super conscious about what's happening in the unconscious, those choices aren't really choices, and they're each thing that happens is an opportunity where we get to learn and grow and discover more about ourselves.
Mm, I love that. And the last question for the fire question, Sophia, I reached out to you and asked if you would be here today, and you said yes, which I'm so grateful for. Why did you say yes to being here today?
Oh, because I just love you so much and I love what you stand for. I think you're such an amazing woman with such a powerful message of body acceptance and body love and health and vibrancy. And I was like, if I get to spend an hour with you, that is an hour well spent.
Receiving that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I've just changed my view because if I'm looking at you differently now, Sophia, it's because I remembered last time I did a recording and you was on the highlight, which is perfect, but you couldn't see me for the whole video, which I didn't know why. So I've just changed my view for now. Okay, so thank you for being willing to go into that because I'm not sure if you knew that was going to happen. And thank you for your kind words. I receive and appreciate them. Let's dive straight in to feminine archetypes. So, what is a feminine archetype and how can we understand and then embody each one?
Yeah, so as the feminine is kind of multi-dimensional. So the feminine can be the wild, the fierce, the soft, the subtle, the heart open, the vulnerable, the powerful. And it can kind of feel a little bit confusing sometimes to think about all these different dimensions. So I feel that feminine archetypes give us names and kind of energies for each of those different aspects that we can experience and express as women. And when we have an archetype, it's like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, it's the goddess, oh, the love, the heart open. Okay, this is me embodying more of my softness. So it gives us something tangible that we can then kind of play in and get to explore that aspect of ourselves. And then we can take a different archetype and we can play in that. And maybe the wild woman, you know, like, what would it feel like if I just said everything that I'm thinking right now? Or what would it feel like if I just spoke the truth? And kind of like calling on that archetype to help us step into that aspect of ourselves. So all the aspects, all the archetypes are already within us. But when we can think about it as, it's sort of like, something that inspires us, then that can help us to kind of feel the confidence to step into that and play around a little bit.
I feel the word permission. It's almost like, because I've been through your program, which is where we know each other from, and I learned a ton about femininity and archetypes and embodiment. And for me, it gave me like almost like a permission slip to, for example, the wild woman was something that I refused to resonate with, because I thought it was seen as bad or wrong or bitchy or whatever. But since I've embodied that and you gave me the permission slip to do so, even though I know we don't need that, but we're human, right? I now speak my truth and ask for what I want, and it just improves your life in such an immense way. But most importantly, it's being true to yourself. And so, in your opinion, Sophia, and I'd love to go through each archetype, but before we do, which archetype brings more shame in your clients? That is there like a theme of shame around a certain one?
I think, to be honest, the Siren often does, because the Siren is like the dark feminine, or sometimes we might call her also the dark goddess. So it's this idea that, like, that very, you know, the very expressed sexuality can feel kind of like, oh, but isn't this just like something that's objectified by men? Or doesn't this make me slutty? Or is that going to unlock something that's going to make me feel like I can also be a good person at the same time as expressing this? And I think it links back to the disconnection that there has been between sex and spirit, or you know, the whore Madonna complex, which is like, you can either be a good girl or a bad bitch, and you can't, you know, you can't express all the different sides. You can't be still a heart open woman and a deeply sexual woman. Or other women are going to be afraid of you if you express that, so you're going to be alienated by other women.
So is the Siren, so can you just describe what the Siren is in terms of an archetype?
Yeah. So the Siren is the sexual, the Siren. So if we think about the Siren in terms of mythology, she's the sort of mermaid-like creature who's on the rock that sings the sailors to their doom, right? She kind of sings them to and calls them, and they're mesmerized by her song, and they jump out of the ship and they dive into the water and they drown in the water. So what she represents is, she's the keeper of frequency. So she represents the feminine frequency that calls the masculine from his mind, from his logic, into the waters, into his healing, right? And calls the woman from the masculine, from her mind, into the waters of her feminine. So it's like using frequency, sexuality as a way of bringing the energy out of the mind back into the body, back into the feeling space.
Wow. That's beautiful. And so I can resonate now, but I didn't before I went through your program, because I wouldn't have understood what that meant. In terms of the Siren, would you say the Siren would only show up in the bedroom or when sex is wanted, or can it show up in everyday life, in your opinion?
I think she can show up in everyday life. I feel that the what she also is the sexual, like the mistress of the sexual energy, and our sexual energy is our life force, it's our radiance, it's our creative energy, our energy of inspiration. You probably remember, like, we talked about this a lot in when we were in the program. And we can weave that energy into everything because it's the energy of creation. So we can weave it into business. You know, what program do I want to create? What offering do I want to bring? How do I want to seduce myself today? You know, seduce myself into feeling like, oh my God, I'm so turned on about working today. Or kind of like, it's the seducing is also like the magnetizing. So it's like, how do you seduce your audience? How do you magnetize like your people who are aligned to your frequency? So it can be used, utilized in all different areas of your life. It's not just about sex, and it's not about manipulation. It's about being so embodied that it's like people just turn their head and they're like, who on earth is that, and how do I get to know her? So it's like the embodied frequency of that. It's not something that you're trying to do. And that's the thing I think about when you really reclaim that archetype, is you become what women are always trying to be, which is, you know, like, be loved and be wanted, and you know, so many women are trying to do all these things to attract people or attract partners, or think they need to do all these things. But it's actually when you become anchored in that energy that it becomes a natural thing that happens. It's no longer something you're trying to do. It's just something that you are.
Oh, wow. That is so powerful. It's like when you shared the story and then you've just shared what you've shared. She's sat on the rock just singing. She's not doing anything. I mean, she's using her voice for the frequency, but she's just sat there singing for herself, probably. And then everyone's just like coming to her.
Yeah.
That is so powerful, because I work with a lot of coaches actually as well. And they say things like, I need to get clients, I need to find clients. And it's like, no, you don't. You just need to attract and be yourself, and then they will want to be into your world. So
Exactly.
I love that. What other archetypes are there, Sophia?
So we have, oh my God, there's so many. So we have the wild woman. So the wild woman is the fierce, fiery sword of truth. And the wild woman is also, we can think about the wild woman, if you were thinking about your menstrual cycle, she would be like the luteal phase, like just before your bleed. So she's like really in her emotional expression. She's like feeling it all, she's expressing it all, and she's seeing it all. And this is something that is really important as women, for us to remember, is like in that premenstrual phase, right? In that luteal phase of your cycle, you are so connected to the truth of yourself, of the world, of your partner, of what's going on. And everything that hasn't been looked at is coming up to the surface. So it's not coming from nowhere. It's not like, I was just crazy that week. It's like, this is what's the real stuff that's going on. So the wild woman helps us connect with what's really happening below the surface and bring it to the light, and kind of like call it out, claim it, and alchemize it, move through it.
Wow. I've noticed, I don't know if you feel the same, Sophia, or you've experienced this with your clients, when I'm bleeding each month, depending on how emotionally attached I am to something, or depending on what's gone on for me emotionally, if my bleed is long and painful, it's usually because I've not let go of something, or I'm refusing to see something. But if it just like last month was the like most pain-free bleed I've ever had, it was almost like nothing was happening. And I was like, why is that, I wonder? And it was like, because I've done so much work this last month and I've let go and I've just surrendered. Do you feel that there's definitely like a kind of a pattern there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's yeah, the more that you, like, every month we have an opportunity to look at what's happening, to move through it, to release it, to alchemize it. Our emotions are such beautiful indicators of that as women, and a lot of women believe that they shouldn't be emotional, right? They should be the cool, calm, collected, keep calm and carry on types, right? Like, because that's what people like, and don't rock the boat and da 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 da. But what happens then is we just are suppressing, and so that then gets encoded, that suppression, into the womb space, which then leads to pain, heavy bleeding, irregular periods, maybe lack of, like, not bleeding at all cramps, all these kinds of things, because our wombs are trying to tell us something, right? They're trying to awaken us to what's really going on. So if you are somebody who feels a lot of those things, something that you can do when you come to your bleed and you can feel, say you have like really bad cramps, is just place your hands on your womb and ask her, like, what is this pain? What is this? What is this? What are you trying to say to me here? What are you trying to share with me?
And then
And
just
that,
listen.
yeah, yeah,
That is beautiful, because until last year or so, I saw my menstrual cycle as like a pain and something that was annoying to me and something that I really dreaded. But now, through doing the work, it's something I celebrate and look forward to. And if more of us could see it that way, because I believe it is to be celebrated. And is that a picture of a vagina behind you, like in the
yeah.
flowers?
I've got 3 of them.
It's
I've got one
gorgeous.
behind.
Oh yes, gorgeous. So to celebrate our bleed is just such a beautiful thing, and it's not an inconvenience, and it's a time for me to take some time out for the first few days at least and just be, which was really hard for me to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important. And then it also, a lot of my clients at first are like, "What do you mean? You want me to take a few days off? I have so much to do." They're like, "I'm too busy." But when they take that time, what they find is they have more clarity, they get more downloads, things like become revealed. And then they find during the month that they have so much more energy. When it comes to ovulation, they're on fire, like superwoman extraordinaire. And they actually end up being way more productive in the month than if they had tried to work all the way through.
That's so interesting, isn't it? We think
Yeah.
that we're taking time off to get nothing done, but actually we're doing the opposite. We're setting ourselves up for success. Wow.
Yeah,
What other
exactly.
archetypes are there? So I know there's many, like we've had the Siren, the Wild Woman. What other ones do you work with?
Yeah, the love goddess. So, love goddess is, like you might imagine, the love goddess. So, this is more of that maiden sort of archetype, the erotic innocence, like connecting with that, learning how to, with her, we can learn how to open our hearts up, how to soften. As women, we've had to become very strong and very barriered a lot of the time to feel like this is how I can sort of be safe in the world. So with the love goddess, we get to peel off some of those layers and come back into the heart space, connect with our deep longings and desires, and become more receptive, which is an important part of manifestation, right? Is being able to receive the goodness of life, being able to receive gifts, the gift of love, being able to receive support, being able to receive all kinds of things, which is, if you don't know how to receive, then nothing that you're doing is going to lead to anything, right? Because even if you're the best manifester in the world, but you can't receive, then it's not going to feel like your manifestation came true. So this is how we get to experience that feeling of fullness, which also comes from within, which also ties in with the self-love. And then the other archetype that I love working with is the Muse. And the Muse is the So the muse, if we think about an artist, right? The muse is this incredible, unique woman that inspires his genius. You know, she's a woman that is unlike any other. She has the it factor, right? She is like, she's the one that everybody wants to know. And there's something about her that's magical, that evokes the genius inside of him. And the muse is the woman also who has that power to initiate. So this is the archetype that you can call on if you are a woman who is wanting to connect more with your feminine magic. Maybe you feel that connection to the priestess. Maybe you want to work with the womb. Maybe you want to get connected to the tantric teachings. Or if you're in partnership and you want to see your partner rise, right? Maybe you're with a man and you're like, oh my God, I see the king in you. And when the muse sees the king in him, that is this energy, he sees it too. You know, because a lot of times in relationship, we can get caught up in that, oh, I don't like this, or he doesn't do that, or all this criticism. And what that does is it kind of creates a collapse. So it makes it harder for your partner to really rise up into that energy, because he feels like, wow, everything I do is wrong. Oh, I'm just not doing anything right. Oh, there's no point. So when you become the muse and you see him as his king, which is not the same as falling in love with someone's potential, it's seeing the amazing things that are already there about them. So it's not about projecting some Prince Charming fantasy onto someone who absolutely is not that person. Yeah. This is about recognizing the qualities that they have within them, seeing them and bringing gratitude to them, bringing your appreciation to them, because what you appreciate, what you acknowledge, what you bring gratitude to multiplies, right?
Yeah.
Where
I feel like you do that with your coaching, like you speak to the highest version of us and you activate that within us, and then therefore like we become that. So you have this gift of like speaking to that part of us, but also honoring where we are now. So I feel that, like, obviously without being your sexual partner, I feel that from you in terms of you as a leader and as a coach, actually.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, wow, I really received that. And I think that that's an important part, you know, of being, for anyone who's listening, who's a coach or aspiring to be a coach, or who's a business owner, you know, speaking to your clients, speaking to your employees, speaking to your audience, seeing them in their highest inspires them to see that in themselves. And, you know, it's like what we focus on multiplies. Where attention goes, energy flows. So if you're focusing on what's not working, what isn't good, you just multiply more of that, you attract more of that. And that's not what we want. So that muse energy really helps us remember to come into that gratitude space, to see with the eye of love, you know, to see with the eye of celebration. When you're around someone who truly celebrates you, everybody feels elevated.
Yeah, so true. This is going to be a really hard question. It's probably unfair. In business, because I know you coach women like on business as well as everything else, what's your favorite kind of archetype to be in personally for you in terms of your business?
Oh, I think the muse for sure. Yeah. But I also feel that they're all important. You know what I mean? They all have their special place, but the muse, absolutely. Yeah.
And let's talk about body love and body image, because anyone who doesn't know Sophia, go and follow her now on Instagram and just look at a few of her videos. You will see how confident and so self-assured Sophia is, and just radiating feminine love and energy. Have you always been that way, Sophia?
No, I actually really, really, really struggled for many, many, many years with my body image. And it started when I hit puberty, which was quite young. I was 9. And so I started developing really early and I didn't feel ready for it. So when I was 11, I had boobs and hips and I felt like my body had betrayed me. Like I was like, I don't want to be a woman. I still want to be a little girl. And I started to notice things about like magazines and how, you know, what was beautiful. And I was also at a little bit after that got quite severely bullied at school. And so then I started controlling a lot of what I ate. So I had a really long journey of body dysmorphia, disordered eating, like a lot of body shame. And that went on like for a really long time until probably my sort of mid to late 30s actually was when I started to awaken. I drank ayahuasca in my first, which is a plant medicine if anyone isn't aware. So I had my first plant medicine experience at the age of 34. So I was a bit of a late bloomer. And in that ceremony, the first ceremony I did, I had this really opening experience of self-love, and I had a vision of myself holding my baby self, and I just was flooded with so much love. And I realized, oh my God, I have not this feeling, I've not felt this maybe since a very small child. And so that kind of started that journey for me. And it was, yeah, a hard journey to be honest with you, because I'm also have been quite a perfectionist and really a high achiever. And so I always held such a high standard for myself. And had a lot of issues around control, and felt like that was a way that I could make myself feel safe, was like, well, if I control this, I can't control anything else. So it's been, I think plant medicine was a huge part in me moving into this space that I'm in now. Also feminine embodiment, you know, coming back into connection with my menstrual cycle. That was huge, right? That reconnection, because that was the point at which it disconnected. The sense of like my sense of self, my sense of self-love. So that disconnected at 11, and then reconnected in my late 30s when I discovered feminine embodiment, started working with my cycle, started, you know, massaging my body and doing the things with the Muse, right? Celebrating my body. Wow, look at these strong legs, and oh my God, look how much energy I have, or wow, I can go for this run, or how amazing is it that my body's done all these things for all these years, even when I was being so mean to her.
Wow.
So yeah, huge.
And thank you for holding the fort as I just had a coughing fit. Excuse me, everybody. Thank you for sharing that, Sophia, because most of my listeners can resonate so much in terms of shame around their body and they're not liking their body image. In terms of like sexuality and how you feel in your body, if you can think back to your journey at the beginning of your body love journey, how did that affect you sexually? And then how did you overcome that to just be free and at one in the bedroom with your partner?
Yeah, so I did not like sex. In my first marriage, I was like, this is something that I do for him, just as little as possible, just to keep him around. And the reason I felt I didn't like sex was because I was always in my head thinking about how I look. Do I look fat? How does my bum look? What are faces am I making? And I was so disconnected from my body, so in my mind, that I didn't feel pleasure. I wasn't orgasmic. And I think that this is where it all comes from, right? It's this it's disconnection from the body, disconnection from the feminine, disconnection from pleasure, disconnection from feeling. And when I started working with Tantra, working with Kundalini yoga, and feminine embodiment practices started awakening my sexual energy and bringing my energy out of my mind, doing a lot of mindset work, right, to sort of get that energy out of my mind, and came back into my body, being able to be present. It really shifted my sexual experience to the point now where I'm like multi-orgasmic. Like my husband and I have the most ridiculous like cosmic kind of like sexual experiences. It might not even look like anything much on the outside. We're not doing like wild crazy positions, but it's just the energy flow between us, because he's also multi-orgasmic. So we just have like this rolling orgasm for our entire connect. And that is because I have learned how to be in my body, and I don't think about what do I look like. I'm feeling, what do I feel like? What feels good? And I follow that. What feels turn on? What feels like pleasure? And as the more and more that I have over the years gotten into that, the more vocal I've also become in saying what I like. Oh, I like that touch. Oh, what about this instead? Oh, actually I prefer this, because that's part of it as well, is like learning how to voice what we desire in the moment, what feels good for us and what doesn't.
Yeah, wow. I can resonate so much with both those things, being in your body instead of thinking, oh, what does my tummy look like from that position? Or what does my face look like? Like, wow, that is still a work in progress for me. But the more that I do just drop into my body in terms of how do I feel, the more pleasure I receive and the more relaxed I am. And especially with what you just shared in terms of asking for what you want, that was a big deal for me as well. And throughout your program, that really helped me to speak up during intimate moments without making him wrong, because that's what I was scared of, like making him wrong. But you don't have to even go there. You can just say, as you've shared, oh, that feels amazing when you do that. And you taught me that the masculine wants to provide for the feminine. And I didn't understand that. So can you just touch on that a little bit in terms of the masculine and feminine energies, if we're like healed within those?
Yeah. So the masculine energy it's focused, it's directed, it's logical, it's the energy of action. So men are predominantly masculine energied bodies, and masculine energy is fueled. Men's energy is kinetic, so the more activity they do, the more energized they feel, whereas we as women in a feminine energy are magnetic, so it's less. If we do try to do too much activity, we find that depleting. So what fuels and feeds our feminine energy is more being, feeling, right? So it's that's like the siren that's sitting on the rock singing her song, and having everyone come to her. So the masculine energy is penetrative and the feminine energy is receptive. So if we think about the genitalia, it's a really good example of that.
Wow.
So we, of course, as women, we still have masculine energy in us, and that's really good. We don't want to be only in our feminine, because then we'll just be lolling around all day. We'll be just wildly emotional all the time, and we'll never do anything. And, we'll just be like, oh, I don't even know what I'm going to do today. We won't have any integrity, any commitment, everything's in flow. If we have too much masculine, then we get tired and drained. So just like men, if they're too much in their feminine, then they can find that they don't have drive. They're super emotional. They feel like life is too much. They feel collapsed by life. If they have too much masculine, they can be overly aggressive, like dog eat dog, that kind of like toxic, patriarchal kind of energy. So when it's in balance, the masculine energy desires to provide, and the feminine energy desires to direct and receive. So in a relationship, that might look like you stating what your desire is, directing, inspiring, right? And then him taking that action and then you get to receive the fruit of his action. And
Wow.
it really sets up a thing, like men love to win, you know? So if you give them something they can win at, they're gonna freaking love it.
That is so key. And I think you touched on something so important earlier. And again, I know I keep referring back to you and your program and what I've learned, but I've learned through your program receiving. Because we say we want this and we desire that and we'd love for this our man to be all of these things. And then when we ask for it, and then we're like, oh shit, no, not worthy of like this. And it's kind of like we block ourselves from receiving what we say we want. So what helps you and the women that you coach, what helps women to receive and then hold and increase their capacity to simply receiving, which sounds so simple, but energetically it's not always the case.
Yeah, so I love that you brought that up. So there are a few things. One is working on your self-love, right? Your self-worth, feeling worthy, because you're already worthy. You were born worthy. You don't actually have to do anything. You could just sit on the floor all day and you're worthy. You know what I mean? Like you're already everything. You're divine. And then it's the practices because the thing that gets in the way of receiving is all the mind chatter. It's all that, man, I'm not worthy of this, or oh, what will people say, or da, 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 all this stuff. It's total disconnection from the body. So this is why I love the feminine embodiment, because it's about getting the energy out of the mind, getting energy into the body, and ways that you can. And so when your energy is in your body, you are present in the moment. You are not thinking about what Susie's going to say when she finds out that blah, 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 or what, you know, what you're going to have to do in return, or da, 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 all these things that might be going on in your head. You're just in the experience of what is. The other thing to do is to work on, and part of that is working with holding more pleasure in your body. So pleasure practices, learning to circulate your sexual energy, these are beautiful ways that expand your capacity to receive, because receiving love from someone is pleasure. Receiving a gift from someone is pleasure. Receiving a compliment is pleasure. Receiving someone doing the dishes for you because you're too busy is pleasure. All of these things, they're pleasure and they're also love, right? So love and pleasure, it's the same frequency, the same energy. So when you learn to circulate and open your body up to more pleasure, to hold more pleasure, not to just kind of like have a quick orgasm and discharge that energy, but to actually learn how to hold orgasmic energy inside of your body and circulate that daily and throughout your day without feeling the need to dissipate it. That is also you practicing and expanding your capacity to receive love, to hold love.
What's just come up for me when you were sharing that is something I used to do. So if I received something, whether it would be a gift or money or sexual pleasure or anything like you've just shared, like the dishes, for example, it's interesting what you've just activated within me, because I would then, without realizing it, need to give something. It's almost like, okay, I've received this and now it's at 80%. Oh no, wait, my benchmark is 50%. So therefore I need to give like 30% away. So I didn't even realize that I used to do that until you've just said that. So that's interesting in regards to when you receive pleasure, don't feel like you just have to give something to someone else straight away in order to feel worthy of receiving the pleasure that you've just received.
Yeah, exactly. So this is where a practice that you can do is when someone gives you a compliment, just saying thank you. You don't have to go out, oh, you're beautiful. No, you're beautiful. You know, like this kind of throwing it back and forth. It's like a hot potato, like it's a delicious potato. Eat that potato. You know? So yeah, saying thank you when you receive a compliment. Yeah, stemming that urge to kind of quickly try to figure out what you can do in return for someone, because it doesn't have to be transactional. And that energy, the thing is, your gratitude is you reciprocating that energy. that is keeping that energy circulating between you and the person who's gifting to you. So if your partner does something for you, saying like, oh my God, thank you so much, that felt so good, like I feel so relaxed now, thank you for taking care of this for me, that is you gifting back through your gratitude, keeping that flow of energy going between you, keeping that balance happening. You don't have to then go and physically do something for that person to keep that energy circulating.
Because I guess when you're grateful for what you've received, they're also receiving your gratitude. I know myself, when I give someone something, anything, I receive when they receive, because I receive their reaction to what I've just given them.
Right, exactly. It's like if you gave someone a gift and they just went, I can't take this, and threw it back at you, you'd be like, but I wanted to give you this gift. Don't you like the gift? What's going on? It doesn't feel good. And then you would be like the next time, well, maybe I won't give this person a gift.
Wow. Yeah, that's so key. I'm looking at the time because I have a question that I'm going to save for myself till end in case we don't have time, but I've had a few questions from my listeners. And the first one is from Dawn, and she's asking about color. Let me get this right. The yoga that you do, Kundalini yoga.
Yes.
What is it, and how can someone get started? And I think that you still practice this. You have this as an offering, as a container, I believe.
Yeah, so I created Rebel Queen Kundalini, and I sell bundles by Goddess Archetypes on my website, and they are sorry, was that my WhatsApp? I apologize. I'm just
No, that's okay. I have it off my laptop because otherwise all day it's just like bing, 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 bing.
I'm like, oh no, sorry.
No problem.
You can cut that bit out if you edit it, and if not, people are going to hear me advising you to edit your podcast.
Exactly.
Okay. So Rebel Queen Kundalini is a form of Kundalini yoga that I created that is for women specifically, helping them connect with their feminine energy, their sexual energy, their pleasure, and get embodied, get into their juiciness, get into their joy, get into their sexiness. And it comes themed in different bundles, and they're all self-study, and you get lifetime access. So if you're interested in that, Dawn, or anybody else, you can head over to my website, sophialepage.com, and you will find those there.
Amazing, thank you. And then we also have something about irregular periods. So she says, I'm at the premenopause stage in my life. Are irregular periods something I need to accept, or is this happening for other reasons, like you mentioned, suppressing emotions during the month?
Yeah, so I would definitely probably say that it's a bit of both, and to really look at what you are suppressing, because in any case, whether or not that changes if you have irregular periods because you're premenopausal or not, you still want to be addressing those underlying suppressed emotions. And if you are someone who feels like you're always even keel, or you're even and then you have blow ups, or you feel not much of anything, so you feel kind of numb, then that's a really good indication that there is suppressed emotion. And that would be so, oh my God, do wonders for you to explore and unpack that. And you may find, that those symptoms go away, or they may not, but in any case, you're going to feel so much better within yourself and so much more powerful.
Thank you. And the other ones I've seen that you've answered them already throughout the podcast, so I'm going to ask mine. I saw that you had a new YouTube that I've not yet watched, and there was a picture of a crystal wand and then a traditional vibrator. Can you explain why it's beneficial for us to choose the wand over the standard vibrator for our self-pleasure, or pleasure with our partners also?
Yes, I absolutely can. So here's the thing. What's happened is, so we talked a bit about emotions, and we talked about how when we suppress emotions, how that can have physiological effects. It can also lead to numbness and tension inside of our yoni, inside of our vagina, and that means that you can struggle with orgasm. So there's sort of tension basically in the tissue, right? So the tissue it's all tight and it's rolled up, and so you don't feel very sensitive. So if you use a vibrator, they're quite powerful, right? They have a vibration, quite a powerful vibration. What you can be doing is just sort of adding to that desensitization of the vaginal wall. So what the crystal one does is, it's a crystal, and crystals have a consciousness. They have a frequency of vibration, although they don't vibrate in any way that we can see. But they have a healing frequency, a healing vibration, and depending on what you're wanting to work with. So if you want to feel more love and more softness, connect more with the love goddess, then you would choose maybe rose quartz. If you want to connect, like do some deeper de-armoring and releasing of emotions, then you might go for something stronger like obsidian. And when we use these wands, they're very subtle and gentle. And what they do is they start to release the tension from the vaginal wall. So they allow us to become more sensitive. And sensitivity is what creates pleasure and orgasmicness. So you want to go, if you are interested in exploring a crystal wand, go really, really slowly, use lots of coconut oil, warm the wand up, breathe deeply, like wait for your body to self-pleasure a little bit outside of your, on your clit, outside of the yoni, and warm yourself up and wait till your body feels ready to receive the wand. And then with like deep breaths, inhaling and exhaling and softening, then just gently start to insert the wand. So it's a whole different experience, right, than a vibrator, which is like, oh, maybe you're not feeling it, so you're like, let me get this out, so it's good because it's going to do the job. This is like allowing your body to unravel, to release the issues that stopped you from feeling that sensitivity in the first place.
Thank you for sharing. That makes so much sense. I feel like I need to switch my play drawer, because I've been worried before that, as you've mentioned, like when you switch that vibrator on, sometimes it's like, whoa, who even likes it that hard, like, so can it desensitize your clitoris, even if we're talking about self-pleasure in that way, if you're using these things like over and over again, and it can be harder to climax maybe with a partner with the fingers or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I think it actually creates more of the issue rather than helping to resolve it.
Yeah. Thank you, Sophia. So I've got to ask you, because I've also had two people ask me this, and I'm like, do you know what? I don't know. I'm going to ask her. Have you got a podcast? They were looking to find you. Is it released yet?
Not yet, but I'm releasing it maybe tomorrow. It's going to be called Feminine Leadership.
I love that. So then this will be released in a couple of weeks. So it will be out. Your podcast will be out when this is out. Amazing. And then how can people come into your world? How can they, what do you offer in terms of people working with you?
Yeah. So right now, I'm in the midst of creating, and maybe it might be out by the time this goes live. So people just send me a DM on Instagram and ask me about it if you're interested. So I'm going to be releasing a masterclass very shortly about helping women feel safe in their feminine. So women who feel more identified with their masculine energy, maybe, or have been in a very masculine world, helping them feel safe in their feminine. And there will also be a group program that will be coming around that as well. And then in the meantime, you can work with me in a number of ways, one-to-one. So there's lots of different options, and you can find that on my website, which is sophialepage.com. And there's also on there a bunch of like self-study options. So I have different courses, the Rebel Queen Kundalini, like we talked about before, different practices that you can kind of like dip in and dive into and do in your own time as well. And definitely follow me on Instagram at Sophia_Le_Page and send me a DM and tell me that you listened and what you loved. And I just love hearing from you. I'm always open for chats in the DMs. And yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you,
Yay.
Victoria.
No, you're welcome. And I can, of course, vouch for this lady. She's incredible. It's such an honor to have you on here, Sophia. Thank you so much for your wisdom. Thank you for your time. And those listening, screenshot this episode, tag me and Sophia, and then we can share you with our audiences. And much love. Mwah!
Thank you.